12 has a lot to offer people. Most of you know that FootPrints has been around for a long, long time. I mean, there was from version 1 all the way through version 11.6. And at some point in time, of course, they realized that in order to, have a more modern looking product, they needed to make sure that the performance was there. They needed to make sure that the UI was modern looking and fast and sleek, and that some of the automation things were put into it. So between version 11 to version 12, they basically revamped the product from the bottom up to make sure they could address all of those issues. And it's a much more powerful tool than it has been before. It's much more configurable, and some of the administrative side of the house is just so vastly improved. And we're going to touch on a little bit of that today as we go through a few slides, and then I'll actually jump into my live demo system and kind of talk about what we're seeing there. When you move to 12, the thing about it is it's going to be very easy for you to set it up the way your community needs it. You can personalize the portal. Here I'm really referring to the end users. So if you support different customers, or if you're a managed service provider, or even if you have different divisions within your company, and for some reason you wanted the self-service portal to be a little different for each one of those divisions, groups, customers, or whatever, very, very easy to do that in FootPrints 12. One of the biggest enhancements is now we have a visual workflow process automation where, to help you design how, we invoke business rules in a certain sequencing, to be able to visually look at what those workflows look like, much and vastly improved than what you had before. And especially if you find yourself in that situation where you're coming into an existing shop and you're sitting there scratching your head trying to figure out what the other person, prior to you having come there were doing. Well, now it's just a picture there, very easy to be able to understand that. A lot of the administration compared to version, I really normally say version 11, it's highly improved. It's kind of drag and drop and just fill out a couple of little items and you're ready to go. And the analytics is significantly improved over what you had on 11.6. It's basically maybe a little bit of an overstatement, but it's almost a WYSIWYG. Basically, it gives you a list of all the fields available. You click on the ones you want in order. It populates them to the right, and boom, it builds the report for you right there on the fly. We'll look at that. So from a process standpoint, when you go to version 12, you don't start with just a blank piece of paper. There are built-in business process templates there to allow you to set up things like, as you can see across the top row here, incident management, problem knowledge, self-service, service requests, which is your service catalog, your change management functionality, and then, of course, your service levels and work targets if you have certain agreements with your different divisions or user communities or whatever. It also brings in, as I mentioned, the business process templates, but there now is a mobility piece for FootPrints version 12. No licensing required like there was in some of the other modules. We talked about the new reporting engine that you've got there, and there's even a chat feature there if they just want to be talking with one another. As I mentioned, the visual workflow, you're going to have that visual process designer. We have support REST APIs for doing various integrations. We still have the dynamic SQL piece of that. We have maintained the ability to have multiple workspaces, which has always been a key and somewhat unique feature of FootPrints. We've removed the things that weren't good about it, i.e. before you could only have one form for workspace. Well, that's gone away, but there may still be those occasions where it makes sense from a security and data segregation standpoint that people want their own workspaces set out there, and that ability, that capability still exists within it. Of course, it's an on-premise solution, as we know, although you do have the option, if you work through RightStar, we will host it for you if you prefer not to have to maintain that infrastructure. And I would say the one other thing that's vastly improved over the previous version is the configuration management database, the CMDB. So I talked about the analytics. It's just giving you an idea of how much they've improved the graphics here, and I'll actually do one of these, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but you also have the ability, of course, to schedule when you want your reports to run and share those reports that are out there. And as before, of course, you don't have to run Service Core as a standalone service desk. why not extend it to not only other workspaces for other groups, facilities, HR, whatever it may be in your environment, but also take advantage of the what used to be called FootPrints Asset Core, now having been renamed BCM or BMC Client Management, to allow you to have that very tightly integrated, not only discovery solution, but to be able to then manage those endpoints even while you're within the incident tickets. And just as a graphic to kind of show that, maybe someone comes in through the self-service portal you have in the middle, they generate a ticket requesting they'd like to have some software installed. That, of course, then gets routed for approval either internally in Footprint Service Core or via an email. And then if you have that integrated BMC client management tool, it automatically pushes that package, once it's been approved, to that end user without IT having to even be involved in it whatsoever. And then, of course, it updates the metrics as far as licenses that you have, because one of the great features about the BCM package is it helps you do software license compliant automatically. So, we still always talk about that. Even though it's an add-on to Footprint Service Core, it's such a strong add-on that you should probably consider that. We still, of course, can support other discovery tools if that's your preference. That certainly has not gone away there. So core functions, and I'm going to show you all these, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but obviously you're doing incident management. The main thing I wanted to show here is just how more modern the UI is over what you're used to seeing in some of the prior versions. They were really outdated, and the graphics in some of the other versions were really outdated for what people expect today. So incident management, problem management, right, change management, formalized change management. Again, the business process templates are there out of the box to kind of have these stood up. And of course, everything is fully integrated with the CMDB to be able to, link related items, link configuration items, link knowledge articles and all when you are doing the change request, an incident, whatever ticket you happen to be in. Vastly improved over what you had. In fact, sometimes most people in version 11 didn't actually do a service catalog. They just built a bunch of templates, but you actually have a true service catalog in version 12, very icon-based, as you can see here, where you're able to extend through that self-service portal pre-templated things that you want to allow your users to do. And as most of you know, the advantage of having a true catalog is not only do I mandate I have to capture certain information, but more importantly, all of the back-end steps to fulfill that request have been built as part of the template, so everything is very, very automated there. Service portfolio, of course, service level agreements, service targets, much richer than you probably had in the other ones. Knowledge management presented in a very icon-based type of UI, very much like the service catalog. You are allowed to have multiple knowledge bases, so maybe you want one knowledge base for the internal staff, a different knowledge base for the external IT staff, but maybe a completely different knowledge base for the facilities management group or the HR group. And Footprints 12 allows you to very seamlessly set those up and then through permissions determine who sees what when they are in there. Then I mentioned there have been a lot of changes to the configuration management database, being able to link CIs to other CIs, graphically understand those, automatically link tickets to assets, and again, just vastly improved, and the graphics and the ability to do impact analysis on those CIs has been vastly improved there. And then last but not least, again, just showing you a graphic here of that visual workflow. It's pretty easy to just look at it and say, okay, for this workflow, let's say it was in a change approval or whatever, here's the ticket comes in, then we go into what stages and just follow it. And if I have time, and I'm sure I will, I'll actually go in and show you an example of a change approval workflow just so you can see how that actually looks within the system. Then last but not least, I did mention mobile. So you can run mobile on any web-enabled device, so an iPhone, an iPad, an Android tablet, a Surface tablet, it doesn't matter. And allow your agents out there to be able to do things from a mobile perspective. Again, something that people are demanding today. So with that, I'm going to cease on the PowerPoint presentation. We'll actually go right into the product now and kind of give you an idea of what this looks like. So the view that you're seeing now is I've logged in as an end user to my portal that's been assigned to me. And, I can do, a number of things in self-service, right? I obviously can see all of my open tickets, and right, I've got service requests, I've got incidents. By the way, that's another distinction in version 11. The only way you differentiated between an incident and a service request was a little checkbox that kind of indicated it, but it was really the same ticket. We truly have completely different forms, workflows, and everything else now for our service request. If I scroll down in here, I'm sure you'd probably find there's one right there. There's a facilities request. So my demo environment is set up to showcase the fact that facilities could also have tickets being entered here on the system. So for the end user, of course, we want them to be able to come into that service catalog is really where they should come into. So we then provide them kind of an icon-based view of, well, end user, what are you looking to do? You're looking to get access to applications or systems? Are you looking for hardware-related issues? You're requesting software? Oh, you're coming in here wanting to know how to update your 401k profile. Well, that would be a human resources. Oh, you're saying that the air conditioning is not working in the conference room. Well, very intuitively, that would be a facilities request. So the self-service catalog portal is supposed to represent a single spot for the end user to be able to come to request whatever they need, and how the tickets get routed or approved is not a concern of them. We'll do that on the back end. So let's run through a couple of examples. All right, I'm looking for some new hardware. I'm saying, well, is it mobile hardware? Is it PCs? Is it phones? Is it provision a server for a product? And again, how you build this view is totally up to you. But I'm looking for mobile hardware, and I want a new tablet PC. Well, in the best practices say, well, if somebody's going to request something, let's not get a bunch of false requests in here and management involved and all. Play back to that user, okay, you would use this service catalog request to be able to get an iPad, a Surface tablet, or an Android device like a Galaxy. Excuse me. Notice that we are displaying to the end user that there's a 7-day turnaround, trying to set an expectation so they're not calling the service desk this afternoon asking where their new Galaxy is on there. So you kind of play back and says, if that's what you want, then fine, go on and request that service. And now we will guide them through a series of questions that we have to get answered in order to be able to come in and effectively work this ticket. So we know you want a new tablet because that's the icon you picked on, but now I need you to tell me of the models that we allow. Are you looking for a Samsung, a Surface, a Google Nexus, an iPad? What are you looking for? Well, I want an iPad. Well, that's great. A lot of different iPad models, and I need to update this list, but I want the 64 gig model, I want the Air Mini 2, whatever the models would be, that's totally configurable. And then you would logically say, well, is it a Wi-Fi only iPad are you getting, or are you looking for a data service? So, just a yes or no there. I've got it defaulting to yes. And so if it is yes, this field also shows up saying, well, which one of the providers do you want, assuming that you offered more than one. If you only offered one, that would be a de facto there. But I'll say Verizon. I'll come here and save and close that. That ticket automatically gets routed to the appropriate people on the service desk. But truth be known, the first thing that happens is we have a workflow that's built that says, your manager's got to approve this before we're going to bother IT with getting it and provisioning it and all of that. So an approval request is sent out to your manager, and they can approve that. If they happen to be a staff person, they can come right into FootPrints Service Core and approve it, but they can also approve it via an email so that they don't need to buy a license to be in FootPrints just to approve a request of one of their employees. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the way we encourage the self-service people to work. And even though this one was requesting something I want, I also would have service requests like, my PC's running slow, or my monitor is flickering, or can't connect to the network printer. They would all be service catalog type of entries as well that you would have out there.